Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey, and today we're talking week one in the NFL. Almost all the Sunday games are done. We got Cowboys-Rams right now, just started in the second half, so that one's still going. Zeke gets just two nice touchdowns so far for me in a couple of my leagues, so that's nice to see. But we're going to go game by game here and just kind of, go over what we saw. So, today and what the games we were watching and what we can take away from it. So let's just start running through this thing here, Jeff. I'll start with Seahawks-Falcons. How about that one? We'll start there. Seahawks-Falcons. Seahawks win 38-25. And with this one, the Seahawks side, Russell Wilson is awesome. That guy is just ridiculous. And that's the reason why we ranked him third coming into this year when everyone else was starting. Dak was ahead. Dak's been okay tonight, I guess, but Dak was ahead of him. People were putting, Deshaun Watson or Kyler Murray, whoever, all these people, Wilson I've seen down at 6 in rankings, but 31 for 35, 322 and 4 touchdowns. Just ridiculous. He is so good. And I don't know what it is about every single year he gets underrated in these preseason ranks. And then he just comes out and does this and looks like he's right there behind Mahomes and Lamar. He's not that far off from these guys, honestly. He's that good. So just a great game from Russell.
Yeah, he is. He's wonderful. And might as well jump into his receivers because there's not much more we can say about Russell. He's going to do this all year. He's very safe. And the crazy part about it today was they didn't even rely on their run game. They were a pass-first team today. They can really do both. Chris Carson, even though he only got 6 carries, he had 2 touchdowns receiving. So, even though you were like, oh, man, this could be a down game for him, it was not. And DK Metcalf had a nice, touchdown catch. Lockett had 92 yards. It was pretty much exactly what you would expect from this offense. A few more runs would have been that's kind of what I would have assumed. Carlos Hyde even got in the action for 7 carries, 23 yards, and a touchdown. It's pretty much everyone in this offense got a little something. But I think it's going to go a long way. It's just a very healthy offense in general.
Yeah, the Chris Carson owners, okay, he got the 2 receiving touchdowns, which is great. So he got the 6 catches there. But the running aspect of it, Hyde had 1 more carry, actually, and the production was very similar. Hyde got the rushing touchdown. So that, if you're a Carson owner, that might be a slight concern, even with the receiving touchdowns, because those could be fluky, but maybe that's just he'll be part of that game plan. Well, Hyde's not going to go away, but Carson should see more than 6 carries. I think that's just kind of a fluky way the game went for him in the carries. I wouldn't be – I never get too concerned with one game. It's one game. We'll see more. It was nice to see DK get that nice touchdown after I think it was the same drive he had dropped an easy first down and just – I saw that and I'm like, come on, DK, let's go. And he looked really great on that. That's what he is on that touchdown. He can beat everybody. He can beat the corner and just go get the ball. And he's that good. He gets more yards and he gets the touchdown over Lockett. Lockett did have the 8 receptions. They both had 8 targets though. So just what it is. Greg Olsen got himself a touchdown there. That's probably what he'll do.
I feel a good one about that. An older tight end. Who knows? Maybe he's going to be interesting in that matter, but he did. He had 4 catches. They were only for 24 yards, but that touchdown he caught was 1 or 2 yard. It was very, very and it got on him really quick. But he had really good hands. So no, it was good to see. Like I said, it was very good. Moving over to Atlanta, though.
Okay, so Atlanta. It's kind of a typical game in a way for them. They don't play much defense. Matt Ryan throws up a bunch of yards, a lot of passes, and they lose.
The thing I did like about this, first of all, Matt Ryan, for me, I always consider him up and down. He definitely can do this a lot. He has really wonderful weapons. I think it's more dictated by the flow of the game. And here they had to score a lot. But 450 yards is ridiculous. It is a very high yardage mark to hit. 2 touchdowns only for that with an interception. I thought the interesting part, and something I really looked for, was how they were going to use Todd Gurley. And even though this became a shootout, they did try to establish him early, and he ended up having a decent game as far as running backs this week because of that, right? 14 carries for 56 yards and a touchdown, and then they threw it to him twice for only a yard. But it did show me that he's heads and tails above anyone else that they might have rush, and they do trust him in a lot of aspects of the game. If they're not playing a guaranteed, Seattle is a playoff team, right? Playoff caliber team. If they're playing anyone that's more in the middle, and maybe this isn't turned into quite the shootout, I think Gurley is going to have a very, very good year, which I love to see. Did you see the same thing, or am I reading too much into that?
No, I saw, especially watched right away early on, first couple of drives. And they were giving him the ball early. I thought he looked good. He looked like Todd Gurley again, it felt like. And then the game kind of got away from him. And, Matt Ryan had to throw the ball 54 times. I mean, that's what happened. So, I guess I'm disappointed he only had 2 catches. That could have been improved on. But it's his backfield, and this should be a good offense. Seattle just jumped out on him and was better today. So I feel pretty decent about Gurley going ahead, though. I think he should, he'll get all the goal line work too, though. That's the beauty of it, He will get all the goal line work. So if they get down there, he'll be able to punch it in from the 1.
I think the interesting part too with Matty Ice going, wild with the 450 yards. It went almost completely to 3 wide receivers, right? So you have Julio and you have Calvin Ridley. You kind of imagine that, okay, where's the rest going to go? I want to get your feedback on this because, first of all, I went to Russell Gage, which –
hey, it's not like completely surprising with Gage. He's not a complete unknown, but I'm a little surprised.
That's the surprising part is he got 12 targets. First of all, Julio, Kelvin, and Russell Gage all got 12 targets and all caught 9 balls. Julio, 157 yards, Kelvin Ridley, 130 with 2 touchdowns, and then Russell Gage with 114. So a little bit lower on the spectrum, but obviously he's the third guy. They threw a few more shorter routes to him. But I think the thing that surprised me, first of all, Russell Gage, sure, it could go to anyone, right? Yeah. But people were assuming that Hayden Hurst was going to step right into the Hooper role. I feel like if you're throwing for 450 yards, only getting 38, even though he was the fourth receiver, the fourth, with 3 catches, I do feel like that has to feel like somewhat of a letdown. I know it's only game 1, but what are your feelings over that?
When you complete 34 passes and he only gets 3 of them, or 37 passes and he only gets 3 of them, that is a bit of a disappointment. Maybe that's just what they were getting from Seattle, and that's Hurst wasn't there. But it could be more of sign of things to come. But I'll wait and see. I'm just not trying to overreact to week 1. It's just we need more. We have no preseason to go off. We've seen one game of action, so it's hard to really say. But it is not encouraging. I'll say that. If you're a Hurst guy, it's which I guess I kind of was on the bandwagon there. So,
well, and I think I took more of I think a lot of people kind of said, well, this will be from day 1, right? They was kind of like, you're going to step into Hooper's shoes. You're going to have the same production he will. Yeah. You're going to use him the same way. And I had an issue with that, right? And I was kind of like, well, no. Like, it took Hooper a long time to get there. Like, do they have the trust with this short one? I know he's athletic and all that. So
it wasn't quite there yet.
Yeah, and he could grow into that role, but with Russell Gage putting on that kind of show, I think it does. He has more of an uphill battle than a lot of people thought. I think that's just what I want to point out. Because, what do? You didn't have to draft him that high. I don't think you have to move on from him. But I think you have a realistic idea of, like, okay, this was week 1, and that's probably more in line with what I should have thought. What should I expect for week 2? Which I think it should be probably a little bit better, but I think it's going to be a gradual, uptick of where they try to put the ball.
Yep. All right, let's move over to the next game here. Go Bills-Jets. Bills win 27-17. On the Bills side of things, Josh Allen does Josh Allen things, I guess you could say. When you look you just look straight up at the box score in the game, you go, wow, Josh Allen had himself a game, right? 33 of 46, 312 yards, 2 touchdowns, ran it 14 times, 57 yards and a touchdown. So really, he had quite the game there fantasy-wise. The guy needs to stop fumbling the ball, though.
Dude, he might be the best bad quarterback I've ever seen in my life.
That's a good way to put it. Because when you're watching the game, like when you look at this box score, you look at this box score, you're like, wow, man, Josh Allen, that was a great game for him, right? But then you see him just miss some receivers and he fumbled the ball twice, and it's like, come on, man, what are you doing? But hey, they won pretty decently, easily, even I think a little easier than the score might suggest. And Josh Allen, though, 14 carries, he's their leading running back at this point. I mean, they run that read option every once in a while. I don't think I've ever seen him give the ball up on it. It's just, hey, you give me an opportunity, I'm going to take it, and that's what Josh Allen does. So I mean, we ranked him, I think, both 7th going into the year. We knew he was going to be a good fantasy quarterback, so we're not surprised at this.
No, very good fantasy, but my gosh, man, it does make me worry. I mean, we'll just get right into it.
Yeah.
When we're talking about Buffalo,
before we do that, I just want to say one good thing. Okay. Diggs was good. Let's keep the good going.
Okay, sure. We'll finish it out. So Stefan Dix did. He had a solid game for the first game, right? There were 8 catches for 86 yards. Great. John Brown stuck around. I wasn't sure how that was gonna, shake out. But 6 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown. Yeah. Good for him. I mean, he had 10 targets, and they really did disperse it a lot better. So even target-wise, right? For as much as I could say about Josh Allen, not being the best, most accurate quarterback. We all knew this, right? And liking to run. I like the game plan as far as trying to distribute the ball, right? Stefan Diggs had 9, John Brown had 10, and then you go to Cole Beasley with 7, then Dawson Knox with 3, Singletary with 7, and then you have a few more guys with 3, 4, 2. So they weren't just honing in on the 2 big guys. I think they did make them guess. I think the Jets helped them look better on offense than they probably were. But I mean, overall, it was as far as the Bills team goes, this was probably as much as I would have hoped for. Like Diggs, I would have loved for him to get a touchdown, but it was healthy distribution. So now that we got over that, let's get to the rushing, because that's really what people are wondering about, and that's what we were watching it for the most part.
Yep.
We get there and it was, okay, what does Singletary and Zach Moss, how does that split look? How do they look? And then the wild card would be, how much does Josh Allen running the ball screw everything up?
So, yeah, I mean, everyone listen to this, he knows we're Singletary guys, and I still like Singletary. I don't feel like he got much of an opportunity to even show much today, but it seemed to be that Singletary was the main back, until you get to the red zone, essentially, right? He was the guy in there for the most part. Moss came in, periodically, but it was mainly Singletary. He just wasn't getting the carries. And then once you got into the red zone, it seemed to turn all to Moss. And Moss got opportunities, and he just really didn't convert them either. So he got that touchdown. He did catch the touchdown pass, 4-yard touchdown pass. Allen scrambles out, and Moss just sat there, and it just happened to open up, and Allen saw him. If you go to Twitter and you go to the fantasy football Twitter, basically, man, Zach Moss is just amazing after today. I'm just like, come on, people. Look at these numbers. 9 carries, 11 yards. He got the 3 catches for 16. I mean, Singletary wasn't great. I'm not saying that, 9 for 30. And then, he had 5 catches for 23. So nothing spectacular, really. Nothing great from either side. I just need to see more. I'm hoping Singletary gets more of an opportunity, but at least if you're in a PPR league, which is stupid to play in, but that's still the main thing. Singletary's numbers aren't terrible. He got 5 catches there. There's 5 extra points right there for, a game where he didn't do that much. So
yeah, that is what I'm not walking back. Who I actually think is the better player, but I do have to say the thing that worries me, like Zach Moss in the red zone, I was kind of like, yeah, that could happen,
it's
right?
Similar to last
what
year,
happened, right? Yeah, and I was kind of like, okay, that's fine. I did not, and this is completely on one game, right? This is where I just don't know, but I did not realize the effect of Josh Allen on the rushing game. I felt like this game, even more so than last year, was so sporadic with how they try to rush the ball, and they really didn't try to establish it at all. It was kind of like Josh Allen. It was kind of like watching if Allen Iverson played basketball, where for better or worse, the ball is going to go through him. In some games, he is going to score a lot of points, but sometimes to the detriment of other players. Yep. So I think that is what we're kind of watching happen. So I think this one we will need a couple more games, but if you were to ask me, does this worry me? I would say, yeah, it does worry me. Not because of I still think Singletary will end up better than Zach Moss at the end of the year, but I worry about the opportunities that they're going to give either of these guys if this is the type of offense they're going to run, which, I mean, why would they back off of it? First of all, the Jets looked really, really bad, but they beat, they're 1-0. They put up 27 points. So that is what I would worry about.
And one thing too is the Jets did have a very good run defense last year. So
that's also very true.
Wait and see what happens. But how about the Jets side of things? Is there anything we even really need to talk about here? Jamison Crowder had a good game off a 69-yard touchdown that really boosted his day. That was helpful. Bell goes down with an injury after 6 carries, 14 yards. They have a nice 30-yard reception, so he had 2 for 32. But Darnold doesn't really look good. There's just not much here. It just isn't.
No, and I know Buffalo's not a scrub defense by any means either, but you were hoping to see something more than what we saw from them last year.
Yep.
And me being believing in Le'Veon, and obviously the injury, still we saw what we saw.
Yep.
And I was kind of like, oh man, this is, besides for Jamison Crowder, no one was getting going. It was I don't know what they've been practicing. They were so bad. It was really, really hard to watch.
Yep.
And I don't even know what to chalk it up to. I hope that they just – I don't know. I don't even know where to go with this one.
Yeah, bad. Just a bad game for them.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's move over to Bears-Lions. Talk about bad games.
Yeah, you're just trying to get me more and more angry.
This happens every year for the Lions, I swear. Last year –
it does.
This is just man,
this is Cardinals all over again, except the Cardinals were actually kind of decent. Yeah. In Chicago, I know – I right now I'm just angry because I had to watch this game.
Well, and then Swift drops a touchdown after they blew it. They still should have won it.
Oh, they completely blew it. And this is the thing that's gonna I laugh at, and this is why I actually feel bad for Chicago for pretty much coming back and for us letting this happen. Is now you're gonna have to deal with Trubisky for a lot longer. if Detroit would have just held on and beat up on him like they were for the first 3 quarters, then you would have had a reason to put Nick Foles in. Trubisky is not a good quarterback. Maybe it'll get better. He looked a little more comfortable in the pocket than he did last year. I'll give him that. But he's not he's not that accurate. And watching the game too is hard to watch because they were I was laughing because the commentators were talking about a few balls that were look at that was really good accuracy. And even those balls are just they're not even tight spirals. They're just all over the place. And he's a good athlete, but oh my gosh,
it was 20 for 36 too. It's just not good. Lions just blew this thing, man.
Oh, it was terrible. But at the end of the day, Mitchell Trubisky ended up with a good fantasy day.
Yeah, he does.
He did have 3 touchdowns. He did have 1 very good pass, but I was going to say, if you throw the ball 36 times, you should have 1 very good pass.
If you're an NFL quarterback, you should have at least one of those.
I love how they're trying to defend him. I was like, this guy he looks terrible. And I feel bad for the wide receivers too, because they couldn't do anything. Allen Robinson made a day of it, even though he wasn't getting a whole lot of help. And Anthony Miller
got the nice touchdown catch there
at the end, but it was because of that 4th quarter where Trubisky actually played well. Yep. The 1 quarter and Anthony Miller was okay, let's just do something here.
Yeah, Miller, he picked up a little bit, where he left off last year. I think he still can be a decent player, so that was good to see. Yeah, Robinson, not much. But David Montgomery, I guess, was okay. 13 carries, 64 yards, but they didn't get to – they were down, so they had to throw the ball. So it could have been a decent game. He looked better than last year. I'll at least give him that. So,
yeah, and I do have to say this too. I know that 2 of the cornerbacks during the game got hurt for Detroit, and they're obviously not a very deep team. They were very bad on defense last year, and that was about the time Trubisky went off. But man, if you're looking at who you're playing or who your players are playing, that is one matchup that I'm saying, okay, that does give him a little bit of an extra. My wide receivers going against Detroit, even this early in the year, I'm like, okay, I remembered what they were able to do against him. A decent quarterback is going to really put the screws to this defense, especially if they don't get healthy. Yep. So that is something to look to. But this was insanely hard to watch. Okay, and then we can go through Detroit too. Matthew Stafford got penalized. He actually had a good game, dropping a touchdown. You can put anything into it, but he threw for almost 300 yards. His completion wasn't that great. He only had one touchdown and one interception. I think that will get better as they get a little more comfortable. They use Hawkinson a little bit, and obviously he was missing Galladay too. So anyone that was kind of putting their trust in Stafford, I actually completely believe in him. It was kind of the tale of two cities on this one. I laugh how Chicago Trubisky's numbers look really good, and I'm like crapping all over him. And then Stafford's look worse, and I'm like, no, he's a good quarterback. But I guarantee anyone that watched that game, even Chicago fans were like, oh, no, I would rather have Stafford.
Well, the Lions, I mean, I don't even have much to take away from this thing. DeAndre Swift didn't play much, except for, he did get the rushing touchdown. And he got a rushing touchdown and should have had another touchdown. And that would have been 2 touchdowns off of not much. But Adrian Peterson isn't done still.
He looked really good. I mean, I joked about it in the beginning, but at the end of the game, he was still punishing the line. Obviously, Chicago's defense is pretty decent too. Yep. So the way he was running really hard, he was averaging 6.6 carries. He had 14 of them, almost 93 yards. It was very intriguing. I don't know how you feel about him come waiver time.
I mean, I don't know, honestly.
I mean, right now you have to. I mean,
he's usable.
Kerryon Johnson and DeAndre Swift, when they did carry the ball, they didn't look great. Peterson did. So I think he's going to be the guy for a bit. I still think Swift will take over eventually. I really do believe by the end of this season, Swift will be the guy. Peterson's not going to be able to – it's just not going to happen. Swift's going to take over at some point, right? I mean, if you're a Lions fan, that's the goal because that means Swift is hopefully good. If he's not, there we go, wasting another pick. So we'll see. Yeah, no, I agree with you. But I think Adrian Peterson, if you are in some trouble with running back, which we all know we can get into very quickly, I do think that he's a waiver pickup. I don't know how much I would expect out of him, but it does seem like they're going to use him and, at least to kind of beat up the line and run hard and, try to pick up those yards. And he did a good job this game.
All right, how about Packers-Vikings? Packers win 43-34. And Aaron Rodgers was really good. Surprise, surprise, right? For the rest of the fantasy world, I feel like it's a surprise.
I know.
Not to us.
It's not, and I don't always want to pat myself on the back.
No, but come on.
Especially after one game. But
why was everyone so down on Aaron Rodgers? Like, it never made sense to me.
I don't know. I mean, but it was kind of one of those you make, when the make hay when the sun shines, right? Because everyone was so down on him. We got him so late in so many drafts, and I was like, yeah, he's going to be my number one quarterback. And people are like, would be confused when I would say that. I'm like, even last year, he wasn't that bad, and it was like a bad year for him, right? He was like barely outside the top 10, and you're getting Devontae Adams back.
I love in our Scott Fishbowl Superflex League, we got Rodgers and Cam Newton, and we didn't have to wait. And we got to wait on quarterback. I love it.
We look like geniuses.
It's great. So just great game from Rodgers. Devontae Adams is going to have a monster season if this continues.
If he stays healthy, dear God, how do you not? It blows my mind that, and Minnesota Vikings have a good defense. Like if any defense like early on would be able to stop him, you think they would throw something in his way. But if you're the only guy, like you look at the Falcons and you're like, okay, well, you had 3 guys catching the ball. You have Kelvin and Julio. You have other people. Who else are you throwing to? No one. You had 17 targets go to Devontae Adams. The next closest guy was 6 with, MVS. I am blown away by what Devontae Adams was able to do in this game.
Just a ridiculous game. Valdez-Scantling got himself a 45-yard touchdown. Alan Lazard gets a touchdown. So, I played Lazard in the league. You played Lazard in the league. It worked out for week 1, but I'd like to see a few more catches. But, hey, that's, it's promising, I would say.
Yeah, I think we might have lucked out a little bit. Yeah,
maybe.
But
maybe.
You know what? Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah. And then Aaron Jones, 16 carries, 66 yards, got himself a touchdown. Remember, at least in this situation, this A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones situation was a lot, like on Twitter, was very similar to Moss Singletary when it first started this summer. This one wasn't as bad, but, it's Aaron Jones' backfield. So clearly, no worries there. And, you just nothing to worry about there. All right. How about the Viking side of things? So Cousins actually ends up looking like a decent fantasy day, 259 yards, 2 touchdowns, but a lot of this came in the fourth. I swear at one point I saw it might have even beginning of the fourth quarter, and he barely had 100 yards. And he turned it around
Minnesota
in garbage time.
Yeah, Minnesota put up 24 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
It was not a close game until then.
No, it was not. And Cousins, though, throwing the ball up to Thielen for 2 touchdowns, 6 for 110. Thielen's obviously the guy there. No one else really stepped up at all, honestly. Jefferson, we still like Jefferson, but we'll wait and see on that. It's first game for a rookie.
Yeah, it's
Can't
early,
expect results early.
No, but I still, especially with if you're looking at who else caught balls, and BC Johnson and Madison, Rudolph, Irv Smith, it felt like, okay, I'm surprised he only had 3 targets, especially in a game you have to throw a lot in.
Yep.
So that does worry me a little bit, but like I said, I'll buy my time. He's a rookie. I totally get it.
Yep. Dalvin Cook only had 12 carries because they were down by so much, but turned it into 50 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he had a good fantasy day off of very little. So they were down by a lot early. So not much to really gain from Cook's day, but he made it worth it with those touchdowns. So how about we move over to Patriots Dolphins? Patriots win 21-11. And you know what? The Patriots used Cam Newton like I thought they're going to do. They were going to take advantage of what Cam Newton does best, and that's what they did. Because his passing numbers were efficient, I guess, 15 of 19, 155 yards, but no touchdowns. But they didn't go too overboard with that because, honestly, that's not Cam Newton's strength. Cam Newton's strength is his rushing, and you know what? They figured that out real early, didn't they? 15 carries, 75 yards, 2 touchdowns for Cam Newton. But they're not screwing around with that. They knew what he can do, and let's do what he does best. And that's what we talked about in all offseason. We knew this was going to be a good signing because this is the perfect coaching staff to take advantage of somebody's strengths, and they did. They weren't just trying to make him sit in the pocket and throw the ball around all the time. They used his legs, and hey, it worked out, and they were able to control the game. It wasn't a blowout win, but they controlled the game very well that way. And just, it's going to be a good fantasy season for Cam Newton if he stays healthy. It's going to be simple as that.
Yeah, and once again, I was expecting Fitzpatrick and the Dolphins to put up a little more as the way of points. They never got it going. Fitzpatrick had a bad game. He had 191 yards and 3 interceptions, no touchdowns. It was bad. They definitely figured it out. I thought maybe that defense would have a harder time with the people that opted out. They did not. They looked really solid. And because of that, I feel like the Patriots are not giving away anything. Like, they're kind of like, okay, well, here's one trick we have with Cam Newton in the red zone. We're going to use him to run, right? I feel like next game they're going to be like, oh, wait, he can throw a lot. Like, I feel like depending on the team, they're going to just pick people apart. Is Belichick, right? And he just is a mastermind at this stuff. So I'm interested to see how this goes. I agree with you wholeheartedly, though. Cam Newton will have a good season, and I think you're going to see a jack of all trades. I think you're going to see him pass really well sometimes, run sometimes, and when he has to be just, the kind of like the game, officiant, he's going to do that as well. 15 for 19, what else can you say? It was just a very well-played game by the Patriots. Not that exciting, but really well played.
But honestly, with this, though, the way they're going to look like they're going to do things, I don't know how many other people on this team are going to be fantasy relevant other than Cam Newton, though. It's going to take away quite a bit from everyone else. Sony Michel, I guess, got a touchdown, but he only had 10 carries for 30-some yards. It didn't look great. This is really going to hamper the rest of the team, I feel like. Edelman will probably still get his. Maybe N'Keal Harry does more. And they'll change it up. Who knows? But if it stays like this, it's going to be Cam Newton, and that's the only person you care about playing.
Very true. And I thought maybe N'Keal Harry, they started getting him the ball, and then he caught it and he fumbled it through the end zone when they were about to score again. And it just felt like one of those moves where if he had more people, he probably would have benched him. But it feels like this is the one where Belichick is like, you have one more of those, and I'm going to stop giving you the ball. I don't care.
Right.
I don't care if we don't have anyone else in line. So I do worry about that a little bit, but it did feel like this was the first time where I was like, okay, I can see a lane for N'Keal Harry to become relevant.
Yeah. All right. How about the Dolphin side there? Nothing great, I would say.
I like how I left the game. I was like, no, there's nothing to talk about.
There is. Fitzpatrick was terrible. Three picks. Tua's going to play really soon. They're not going to screw around with that. Jordan Howard goes down with an injury. He only had 8 carries, 7 yards, and a touchdown. Matt Breida was not even the second back. Honestly, it was Myles Gaskin. who was backing up Howard, and he turned it into 9 for 40, and that's not good for us who thought Matt Breida could do something. It's not promising. And you know what? I don't even know why I bought into any kind of thing with the Dolphins backfield because of what. Remember last year they were terrible. Like I know it was cheap, but they made nobody relevant last year, and this just screamed that again. This just felt exactly like that.
It did. So, I was really expecting them to throw the ball a little more. I think the thing that blew my mind was like if you have Parker and Gesicki and even Preston Williams, they'll throw them in there, and you got to get something going. Obviously, you're not running it too efficiently. They weren't terrible, right? I mean, I think the top Gaskin and Breida both averaged 4.4. It's not like you're the worst. It wasn't the worst showing when they tried to. But when you're only giving someone like Devontae Parker 4 looks, that doesn't scream that. I know that he might have been banged up too, but he caught all 4. Yeah. Or if you're going to Gesicki and you throw it to him 5 times, he catches 3, like – I don't know why you wouldn't go back to that well. So it does worry me. Like it feels like that's the way you can win, and you don't go that way. I'm not sure what you're doing, and I know a lot of it has to do with Fitzpatrick just wasn't very good today. Hopefully that changes, or Tua will be coming in. But either way, it worries me in general. If you're on a bad team, that's the worry. But you would think that you keep throwing the ball.
Yep. All right. How about let's just move over to Eagles and Washington. Washington wins 27-17. Eagles jumped out to an early lead and just never did anything again after that.
No, good for you, Washington. Right? I was super impressed with this win. I was kind of like, Eagles are going to beat up on them. They jumped out to that lead. Like you said, I was like, this game's over even without Miles Sanders. And they didn't really have a whole lot of wide receiver help. And they just kept in it. They kept going. I mean, it was kind of like everyone on the team, and we can get there, but there wasn't one major thing. They just kind of all stuck together, and they ended up, just gutting it out. So good for them because they were terrible last year. At least it shows you that, they're trying to build towards something. And I think the first thing we have to acknowledge, Peyton Barber.
Oh, geez. That was a Peyton Barber game for sure. 17 for 29.
Yeah, first of all,
but 2 touchdowns.
They gave him 17 carries.
Yeah.
And he only got 29 yards out of it, but he definitely was the goal line guy. And
I saw Gibson get 1 look at the goal line, didn't get it in, and then Barber got the next 2, and he put him in. So
I was cracking up. I was like, this stat line is going to be so misleading.
It doesn't surprise me coming from Peyton Barber, though. If you told me he had 17 carries, I probably would have guessed 30 yards.
yeah.
But maybe not the touchdowns.
Yeah, but if he keeps going there, he's just going to vulture touchdowns. That definitely hurts Antonio Gibson. And Bryce Love was a scratch, like he was out.
Yeah, the healthy scratch, which is
So that's
not cool.
I don't know what that is, but yeah,
they're just
not ready for him to play, right? Yeah,
yeah. Well,
I'm not gonna go far enough to be like they don't want him to play. Yeah. I'm still thinking like
you're still gonna think it's not ready yet. Just not ready.
Yeah,
he needs to come back more. All right, Terry McLaurin had 5 for 61. Sims 3 for 50. So I mean, nothing too spectacular there, but they got the win. So hey, worked out for them. Eagles, looked pretty good early. Wentz had 2 touchdowns. He did throw 2 picks though. Boston Scott, everyone rushed to throw Boston Scott in the lineup after Sanders goes down, and he turned it in at 9 for 35, 2 for 19 receiving. Their big receiver of the day was Dallas Goddard. Goddard was 8 for 101 in a touchdown compared to Zach Ertz's 3 for 18 in a touchdown. And Jeff, I think you've been calling this one for like 3 years now. So
no.
Finally happening.
I was calling that Dallas Goedert was that good of an athlete, that good of a tight end that they would use both of them. And I did, and I need your help on this one. I watched a lot of games today, but Zach Ertz, I know that he was injured at one point. Did he come back and play the rest of the game?
Honestly, I'm not at to check up on that because I did see where he was, where he kind of went down there.
Yeah, he didn't look like really hurt, but I wasn't sure if that affected how many times they went to him.
I don't believe he left the game from it. So
okay,
fairly certain he kept playing that one.
And yes, I was calling this, but also this is a lot to do with. First of all, he was very good. He was tight end number 10 last year, even with Ertz being like a tight end 4 or whatever it was, 3. But But also, they're just the lack of wide receivers they have. You knew that they're going to have to use other people. That's why I'm so high on Miles Sanders as well when he comes back. I feel like those three, Ernst, Dallas Goddard, and Miles Sanders, are going to be kind of what buoys them. And I feel a little vindicated on this one. It is only one game. He is still the second tight end. So I'm not going to get too crazy into this. But he did have 9 targets. He caught 8 of them for 101 yards and a touchdown. The only other person to catch a touchdown is the other tight end, Zach Ertz, right? And he caught the first one. So I do believe that my assessment of the team led me to the right direction. Now it's just, what do you do with this information? Are they going to put more bodies on Dallas Goddard? Are they when Rager and other people are a little healthier as far as the wide receivers go, does that cut into his share? So there's a lot to really see how this develops. But I still like Dallas Goddard. I played him in a flex position, right? Yeah. So I think if you have him as a tight end, you can play him as a tight end. And I think in certain situations, especially early on, if the wide receivers aren't there, I think he can keep putting up these types of numbers, and he's a great red zone threat. So I would say he's even flex relevant.
Yeah, he can be. I honestly do not think he's going away. We've always known he's talented enough. Just had Ertz standing in the way, but Ertz isn't. They're not treating it like that anymore. Goddard's going to play. He's going to find his way to the field because he's that good. There's no need to not play him anymore. So he's going to be very, very relevant. So not much from the receivers in that one. Rager gets a nice 55-yard pass, but that's about it. So, all right, let's move over to Raiders, Panthers. Raiders win 34-30. Panthers, that's going to be their year. They're not going to they don't have much of a defense. So
I wanted to clap for the Raiders too, but it's less of a surprise. Yeah. I mean, good for them once again. This was an interesting one, all over the place.
Well, it's the Josh Jacobs show there. I mean, he carried the ball 25 times for 93 yards, caught 4 for 46, and ran those 3 touchdowns in. So his yards per carry is only 3.7, but who cares if you're getting that many carries? And they're just going to keep feeding him the ball. He has no competition. I mean, it's great to be a Josh Jacobs owner because there's absolutely no one going to take anything away from him at all.
Yeah, you never have to guess. He might have a harder day against a little bit better of a team because 3 touchdowns, I'm not going to expect that, game in and game out. But, I mean, I would start thinking that with that many touches, he's going to get, you have to believe that he's going to be able to get in the end zone once. Or, you're not that far away. He looked great running the ball. There's nothing negative I can say about him. I mean, he was really, really good. And I really liked the Raiders game plan for the most part. I mean, Derek Carr, they didn't ask him to do too much. And with the wide receivers feeling out, who's what and what they can do, I think you knew they were going to rely on the run. But, Carolina still couldn't stop them.
No, they spread it around quite a bit. Ruggs, 3 for 55. One was a 45-yard. He went down with an injury, but then came back. So
yeah, but that one, I really liked seeing that. I'm hoping that is what is in store because he still finished with the most yards on the team. Then, Josh Jacobs was right behind him, and then Darren Waller. And those were the 3 that was kind of like, okay. The other one that I'm disappointed in was Bryan Edwards.
Yeah, not much there tonight. 1
catch for 9 yards. I'm kind of surprised by that, but, they were – it was a close game, so why rock the boat kind of thing.
Yep. All right, Panthers side of things. I mean, it's the McCaffrey show there. 23 for 96, 2 touchdowns. Very similar stat line there to Josh Jacobs. 3 for 38 receiving. That's the only, I guess, downfall. You just hope there's more receiving than that. If you're a McCaffrey owner, you're used to more receiving than that. But still, great game. Robbie Anderson gets himself a 75-yard touchdown to make his numbers look pretty good of 6 for 115 and touchdown. And that's about it for fantasy relevancy there. DJ Moore, disappointed, I would say, 4 for 54. And disappointing, but I guess it's with Bridgewater, we're not really sure what to expect. I just wish that Anderson touchdown would have been DJ Moore's.
Yeah, and Teddy Bridgewater is going to be efficient. He wasn't a bad quarterback by any means, but when people ask, do you even think about him for fantasy? I always say no.
No, I still don't.
Yeah, and especially with McCaffrey, we saw what this is going to be. If he does throw to him more, his numbers could get a boost because he could get more touchdowns and free yardage. Yep. But it doesn't feel like that's what they're going to do. So, yeah, not right now. And what do you feel about Robbie Anderson?
He's going to get those big plays
completely
every once in a while. Yeah, I have a hard time playing him
8 times, and you just have to get open once. But I mean, even without that, though, I mean, It was obviously that one big play, and then other than that, he wasn't too relevant, even with 7 other targets.
I have a hard time playing somebody like that. It just scares me a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, how about Jacksonville and the Colts? Jacksonville wins 27-20 behind Gardner Minshew's 19 for 20 game there, 173 and 3 touchdowns. Maybe this guy wasn't a complete fluke.
Efficiency.
Very efficient there. He spread it around. There wasn't anything relevant on the receiving side of things because that ball just went around to everybody. Even though he only completed 19 of them, what did he have? 10 receivers caught in those 19 passes or something like that. So it's crazy. I guess it was led by Keelan Cole, 5 for 47 and a touchdown. Laviska Shenault, it was nice to see a touchdown, 3 for 37. Hey, a rookie gets a touchdown in the first game. And then DJ Chark also caught the other touchdown. So his numbers are saved by that, but it was only a 3 for 25 game. He was just one of the guys out there, which is always, I mean, how many times have we said this about Jacksonville over the years? It's just they have a bunch of guys at wide receiver, and they're all the same. Thought that wasn't going to be the case with Chark this year, but we'll see. Game 1, hopefully he gets a few more catches. James Robinson was the guy in the backfield, 16 for 62. Nothing spectacular, but he'll be, if you need a running back badly, that's, I guess, one to use. But this is kind of, I don't expect Jacksonville to be very, explosive at all this year. This is kind of what they need to do. If they want to win, they're going to have to be extremely efficient like this. And, yeah, really, I don't really love it for a fantasy perspective, though. Except I guess Minshew was good today, but I don't think that's a little more than what you can normally expect.
No, the only guy I was kind of banking on was DJ Chark, and for him to only have 3 targets does, kind of throw a little cold water on it, because I thought, and to be fair too, though, I thought that in a lot of these games they're going to be down, but if they play this efficiently, it might be closer, and that thinking might not come into play. Like maybe Minshew can do this all year, but I don't know. We'll find out. It was a very interesting first game.
Yep. All right, for the Colts, Rivers, 36 or 46, 363, a touchdown and 2 picks. So that's Rivers for you.
I was going to say, he picks up where he left off last year.
Yep. The big story, I guess, is Marlon Mack going down with the Achilles injury. So that's one of the reasons why Taylor obviously was, not drafted as highly, is because of Mack there. And now Mack is gone just like that. But still, not like Taylor looked great. 9 for 22. He didn't do much. And Nyheim Hines played a lot and got 2 touchdowns, a receiving, and a rushing touchdown, and looked pretty decent. So Taylor's going to have to battle with Hines. Hines isn't going to go away, but it does have a chance to now be just Taylor's backfield. So we'll see if he can get better.
I think it will, and I think he will get better. I like that offensive line. I don't think this is what is going to be. I'm very high on Jonathan Taylor now. I mean, why wouldn't you be? Marlon Mack was the only thing standing in his way, like you said. And what I did take away from this, even though his rushing wasn't what I thought it would be.
Yeah, the receiving there.
He was the second leading receiver on this team today. And if if you're Hines, that is your bread and butter. So even though you got 2 touchdowns today, you have to be like, oh, this is the main back. And he had more catches than I did, more yardage. Like, why wouldn't they keep him on the field for, more than even if it was like Mac, like switching it up, right? Because it's not a one-look offense then either, right? It's not like, oh, Taylor's in, we have to run it. Like, they can do both. So I think that was very good to see, especially with, you never want to see anyone go down. But obviously, if you're a Taylor owner, you have to, oh, okay, he's going to get a few more carries. That's good.
Yep. And Paris Campbell, 6 for 71. Hey, maybe we're seeing something there in year 2 there. So he could be a waiver ad. There could be a couple waiver ads from this team. Campbell and Hines both probably will be at least on people's radars next week. So, all right, let's move over. Ravens and Browns. This is just completely just picking up where last year left off, right? Just ridiculously bad for the Browns there. Only scoring 6 points to the Ravens 38. Jackson, 20 for 25, 275, 3 touchdowns, runs at 7 for 45. The guy's just – he's really, really good, I would say. He's a good quarterback. Doesn't even need to run the ball that much right now, which he'll have more of that, but he didn't have to today. And he's good. J.K. Dobbins gets the 2 rushing touchdowns on a 7 for 22 day, and Ingram goes 10 for 29. So none of those guys weren't efficient in their yardage there, but Dobbins gets the 2 touchdowns. But I guess if you're an Ingram owner, you're kind of disappointed. There wasn't much there, and Dobbins is stealing that goal line work. So I guess that's one takeaway. But Still, only Dobbins was. I always have a hard time with this because he's 7 for 22. It's not like he was great, but I don't love it when I'm just banking on touchdowns. That's it. You're just hoping to get the touchdown. I want more than that, but maybe he will get more than that because Ingram wasn't great.
No, I mean, once again, I think this is a very difficult game to judge off of one because they got up quick. They were up 24-6 at half. And, I mean, how much did you really you secure the ball. You're thinking that the other offense can't move it. And, you're exploiting what they're not doing great, which right now it was kind of just passing it all around. Like, I don't know. It didn't feel like any real urgency at some point. So I don't think they were really looking for it. And touchdowns on this team are completely based on, it's not even hot hand. It really is just, we're going to run this many plays and we're going to spread the ball around and everyone has a pretty good shot at scoring a touchdown. I think that's what it's going to be. I didn't see any reason to believe that Ingram couldn't have 2 touchdowns next week or Dobbins here. Like, I think this is moving toward, it's not even moving toward, we're already there. We're exactly where we thought it was going to be. Right. Lamar had 7 carries, Mark Ingram had 10, Dobbins had 7.
Yeah, it's going to be that way.
Yeah, moving forward, it is touchdown dependent a little bit. That's why we don't love Ingram and Dobbins because you're kind of doing a lot of guessing. Yep. But they're both really talented backs and a great offense. So, you can play both of them. I think it was good to see Dobbins do this, but I would like to see a little more productive yardage game before I give him like the full I can put him in like for a running back instead of like maybe just a flex position because you don't really know. I think it's going to be very different when they're playing a team that can put up points.
Marquis Brown had 5 for 101. Solid there. Willie Snead gets himself a touchdown. And Mark Andrews, 5 for 58. 2 touchdowns. The first one was just a great one-handed grab. Andrews is really good. So,
great to see. Marquis Brown was I really liked what I saw on that one too. He did have a long of 47, so it's half of his yards, but it does feel like he's coming along as a wide receiver. Yep. And in that offense, once again, I think that was a wonderful thing. So if you did draft him, he's a nice get.
On the Brown side of things, Baker Mayfield was terrible. It's a complete split in the backfield between Hunt and Chubb, which
it is.
It is.
But once again, you cannot base it off this game. I know we're going to hear a lot about this already. True. I just want to cut it off at the knees.
It was Chubb early.
When you're getting killed by a team that can put up this many points, you're not coming back. You're like, the game plan goes out the window and you're kind of like trying to get everyone involved, right? You're just like, how can we salvage it? So I can like take nothing away from their offense. And we knew this too. That's why we were like, we believe that Mayfield and Odell will have a better year this year, right, than they did last year. But we're kind of like, not in week 1. Like Baltimore is not the team you do it against. Yeah. So we have to wait until week 2 to figure out.
They still didn't put up any fight at all, which is
okay. That was upsetting to see. Like it went down real quick.
You know what? I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to say the name Odell Beckham after this until he does something. And we're done. I'm done talking about him. I will not answer any questions about Odell Beckham. I will not talk about him on the rankings show. I am literally done talking about Odell Beckham until he actually does something. So I will say his name again when he actually looks like a good NFL player. He's just not right now. I'm done. Let's move on, Jeff. Let's move on. I can't talk about those guys. How about the Chargers-Bengals? That was a boring game. There wasn't many games on at the end of the day, so that was what I got to watch.
Did you think that after watching Burrow scramble into the end zone, we're about to see like the most like confident rookie ever to like take the helm? Well, then it kind of got back to usual, but when he he kind of directed the blocker and he waited for it. And I was like,
that was good patience there.
Yeah, I was like, how old are you, dude? Yeah. But
it
kind of got back to normal.
But he should have let him on. You should have had a game-winning touchdown there. AJ pushed off a little bit. It wasn't even that crazy. Should have been and then their kicker misses the easy chip shot there to send it to overtime. So I'm not going to, Burrow. I think he's going to be good. So I'm not going to read much into this.
No, I think he was very solid today. I was very impressed with him, honestly, in the first one. And it did feel kind of like Detroit. It felt like this was very much like, one off season doesn't fix everything. You're still Cincinnati. No,
Mixon, 19 for 69. It's kind of the same old story of the way last year started. So hopefully this will get better. I will say I'm still on board there. AJ Green, 5 for 51, should have been 6 catches in a touchdown there, but they, call him for the OPI. Tyler Boyd, 4 for 33. Not really much else there, honestly. Chargers side of things. Austin Eckler does get 19 carries for 84 yards, so he's solid there. Josh Kelly, though, 12 for 60 in a touchdown. Josh Kelly is clearly the number 2 back there. He did beat out Justin Jackson, we'll say that. And he looked pretty decent, actually. So he's not going to go away. And then the weird thing is Austin Eckler, 1 catch for 3 yards. And that's what you got Austin Eckler for, was those receptions. So that's worrisome.
A little bit of a red flag there, right?
And it's not like you can't – are you going to blame it against the Bengals defense and just how they can shut down people? So we'll see. You know what? I just don't think Tyrod Taylor's that good. That's a lot of it. So we're going to see Justin Herbert here at some point.
I mean, we'll see if they keep winning, whatever. We'll see if it gets better. And that's the weird part too. I could buy into the idea that, hey, Tyrod is just not that type of quarterback, but those are like the easy passes. That's what you set up.
That's what you thought. That's what you thought he would get.
Eckler's going to get a ton. And I was kind of like, that's why I was like him and Hunter Henry, right? Like the big guy and the little guy coming out of the backfield. Like those are the easiest ones to set up.
At least Hunter Henry had 5 for 73. So
yeah, solid. Mike Williams, 4 for 69, kind of what he was doing last year too. But Keenan Allen, once again, it was one game. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but it's exactly what I was worried about.
Yeah, that's why we ranked him lower.
And I like Keenan Allen, but I downgraded him a lot, and people were angry about it. But this is what I worry about. Maybe it comes back, but I don't know. I think that might be more of what you see this year with Tyrod and him together.
All right, how about Bucks Saints? Saints win 34-23 in Brady's Tampa Bay debut. Brady got the rushing touchdown on the first drive, and then after that he was 23-36, 239, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. I don't really know how much to read into it. I
actually thought he looked fine. It was some he doesn't usually throw interceptions all that much. But to be quite honest, I mean, it is a weird thing. You're finally on a new team. You do have a new offense. That one he airmailed to the Saints or whatever, it looks like they were just on – I don't even know how you do that. It was on 2 different pages. But I think that is the lack of time you have with a team. I think it's more of that than anything else. Like he still put up decent fantasy points, and I don't see why he wouldn't be able to do that or better because Saints are good. Like let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Saints are a really good team.
Yep. And Mike Evans did play. He was barely playing though, and we kind of hopefully you didn't. I mean, he got a touchdown right at the end there to make it like if you did somehow still put Evans in your lineup, you didn't completely lose everything because he had 1 catch for 2 yards, and it was a touchdown, and it was with 2 minutes left in the game. So he saved all of that. I mean, Godwin was their leading receiver, but only 6 for 79. I'll say O.J. Howard at only 4 for 36 in touchdown, but he is involved in the game plan.
Yeah, him and Scotty Miller kind of blew me away by a lot more than I thought they would be. Yeah. And it kind of showed that Mike Evans wasn't 100%, right? Because it was clearly Godwin, and then it was these guys. And
not much from Gronk.
Mad not to throw it to Gronk. I'm completely wrong on that one.
Yeah, well,
with the lack of preparation, like that might be an easy one to like throw a few to him.
Yep.
I don't know what that's about, to be quite honest. I'll be interested to hear about it.
Wait and see what happens. Ronald Jones led the backfield, 17 carries, 66 yards. But as Fournette gets into it, maybe that'll change. We'll see. But no LaShawn McCoy on the rushing side. He had 1 catch for 2 yards. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I had a feeling they were going to do this with Rojo because they kind of made a big deal about how he was still the number 1 back. And he did fine today, but still doesn't – as I'm watching him, it's nothing that I'm kind of like, I have a hard time believing Fournette at some point isn't going to gain momentum on him. Yep. But we'll find out. I mean, he didn't obviously look that great either today. But the one thing I do want to point out before we get to New Orleans, first of all, I do think that the Bucs, and it's going to be kind of funny to, take a crap on them because all this hype and then they lost the first game. But I thought their defense looked really good. Like I know the points makes it feel like it wasn't because it's 23-34 for New Orleans, but I mean, Brady did throw a pick six. He threw another pick that put him the Saints capitalized and got another touchdown on. You take those out, and for such a potent offense that the Saints can be, I thought that the Bucs looked really, really good. So I am I'm a little bit higher than I was on some of these guys on Tampa Bay, because I do believe that they are a complete team, which I wasn't exactly sure what we were going to see, because it was so up and down last year, but you couldn't tell because of all the interceptions and everything like that. It might be just something in Tampa Bay that you have to throw 2 interceptions per game or something, but
pretty much.
Yeah.
How about let's see the Saints side of things here quick. Breeze 18 of 30 for only 160 yards, did get 2 touchdowns. Michael Thomas was just non-existent, which is crazy. 3 for 17. Not going to read much into that one game.
When was the last time we saw that, though?
No, it's just he's the most reliable, player out there. It feels like you just don't expect that. The bad game doesn't seem to happen to Michael Thomas, so that was disappointing. Isn't
it crazy though? You look at, they put up 34 points, and then you look at their box score, and you're like, how?
Yeah, because you look at the rushing. So Alvin Kamara this is like what he does. He gets himself 2 touchdowns on the day, 1 receiving, 1 rushing. But he only had 12 carries for 16 yards. That was it. Well,
he almost had that 3rd touchdown right there at the end, too. And they called it back, actually. Yeah. And it was like as close as you can possibly have it. But, I mean, that's the worry in my head. That's the worry about Kamara. He's not exactly a workhorse, right? Like they use him as a very specific tool in order to attack a team now.
Yep.
And it does worry me in that case, because Latavius Murray has a real role on this team, and he is to be the hammer, right? Because they're I don't want to wear down Alvin that much.
Yep.
So just know that he is definitely a touchdown upside guy, and he will catch it as well. He was the 2nd leading receiver on the team today for 51 and a touchdown. But that always worries me depending on how the games go. He's not as safe as, and that's why we didn't rank him that way, but he's not as safe as a Zeke or Saquon or those guys will get their touches because they have to. But with Alvin Kamara and that Saints offense, they're kind of I know, we'll do whatever we want. Don't worry about it.
All right, let's go to, I guess, the final game, because the Rams-Cowboys is still going on right now, so this will be the final one for us. Cardinals, 49ers. Cardinals get the surprise win, 24-20. And Kyler Murray looks pretty good, I say, for a fantasy quarterback. He let him down there and got a touchdown at the end. 26 of 40, 230 yards, touchdown, a pick, but 13 carries, 91 yards, and a touchdown. And if any of us were worried about DeAndre Hopkins going to a new team, that was a mistake to be worried. 14 catches, 151 yards, almost got a touchdown and got called back on him. So that very close to just being a massive, massive number. But, Kyler knows where to go with the ball already. And this is going to – that's for – Kyler Murray owners, this is a big, you love to see that, because he knows who to throw the ball to, and it's going to, I think, be very successful this year. So I feel really good about that. 151 yards for Hopkins there. Just and Murray with those 91 yards on the ground. Just it's very encouraging for those two.
Without a doubt. Kyler Murray looked every bit of the dual threat that we thought he could be. He took it. And he did it against San Fran. If there's any way to come out and say, hey, I'm not going to have a sophomore slump, this was it. Especially after that long, touchdown play to Mostert. We're kind of, I mean, even in my head, as soon as I saw that, I was like, all right, maybe San Fran runs away with this one a little bit. They're still a young team, Arizona, who knows? And they just got to work, and immediately. And they pull it out, man. I got to give them a lot of credit. That run Kyler had for a touchdown was crazy, too. Really, really good.
Yeah, it was. He's a good player, and he's going to just get better this year. Then Drake, 16 carries, 60 yards, did get a touchdown. Nothing spectacular, but he is the guy there. Edmonds did catch a touchdown, but Drake's going to get the majority of the work. But just it wasn't great. I'll say that, but it's going to be the Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins show there. So for the Niners, I guess Garoppolo, 259, 2 touchdowns. Threw the 76-yarder there to Mostert, whose day looks a lot better because of that. He has a good day because of that. Really, honestly, he's blown coverage on a quick slant, and he goes 76 yards on it. Without that, it's not great. But one thing I can say, that split really wasn't there today. It was Mostert, 15 carries. McKinnon did get 3, Coleman got 4, but it was Mostert as the clear lead back. That much was there. You know, it could change with the Niners, but as of today, it was Raheem Mostert. And then receiving, they just didn't throw the ball to wide receivers today. If you go look at those numbers, wide receivers
they didn't
caught
have any.
No, they don't. I mean, wide receivers caught four passes today. Bourne caught 2 and Taylor caught 2. Other than that, it was Mostert with 4 catches, Kittle with 4, Juszczyk with a catch, McKinnon 3, Jordan Reed, if you forget Jordan Reed signed with the Niners, he gets himself 2 catches, and Tevin Coleman gets 1. And they spread the ball around there. Kittle got 4 for 44. I think that was basically all in the first half. He had that injury scare. He came back, but then I don't think he got a catch in the second half after coming back from that injury. So, but not a great day for the 49ers. I'll say that. That's not what you want to do coming off of, being, in the Super Bowl last year. They didn't look great. And I don't know, maybe they can turn that around if they get some receivers out there, get Debo out there, get Ayuk out there.
I think they lacked a little bit of depth. And I think completely honest, like you two, I know we saw him play last year and we liked him, but Kyler surprised me today. It did feel like he was just better than he was the year before, confident-wise. Maybe it's because he had that one big wide receiver he could go to all the time.
Yep.
But he definitely was the difference maker in big-time plays where, that's a good defense to do it against too. So it was an interesting game.
All right. Well, that's going to do it. We'll touch on this Rams-Cowboys game in the next couple episodes here. I will say one thing about this game is Cooper Kupp. Why do you change his number? He screwed with me today. I see number 10 catching the ball. I'm like, what the heck? Who is that guy? It's Cooper Kupp. Should be number 18, I thought. That. So, all right. That'll do it for today. We'll be back tomorrow with our waiver wire episode. Talk to you guys then.